I'm John Estrada, co-founder, CEO of RiseWell. And I guess first question, has anyone heard of RiseWell at all?
Who's heard of RiseWell?
Hey, all right, two. Cool. Well, we are a natural but science-backed oral care company. So we make toothpaste, mouthwash, floss, toothbrushes, blah, blah, blah. And I founded the company back in 2017, and at the time was looking for a clean toothpaste, because if you put it in your mouth, it should be clean. And I was going to switch to one, and my brother-in-law at the time actually is a dentist, and he pointed out if you're going to use that, you might as well use water. Long story short, if it doesn't have fluoride, it was not doing anything, and there really wasn't anything to replace it. Found this ingredient in Japan called hydroxyapatite. Horrible sounding name, but it's what your bones and enamel are made out of, and wasn't being used here. And long story short, it's as effective as fluoride, but safe enough to eat. So started the company based on that, and launched in 2019. We're 95% direct to consumer. We're also in 500 dentist offices, and we've been partnered with Mason for years. So.
Beautiful.
Hi, my name is Brook. I'm the founder and CEO of Mason. We're a self-funded company, never took any outside investment. We've got 30 employees, about 55 clients, and we work mostly with founder-led companies that are between $5 and $40 million a year in revenue. We have smaller clients than that, we have bigger clients than that, but that's sort of who walks in our door the most. And we've worked with RiseWell for a couple of years, and I'll say that one of the reasons I really like working with John is he doesn't actually need us, which is the thing I want to really touch on. He's doing all the right things in his brand, and we help amplify him, and I think we're part of his success, and I think he's more successful because of us. But he's doing all the right things in his company, so we're just part of his success, right? As opposed to some people that come to our agency and say, I have no plan, I have no brand, now let's make millions. He's doing, which happens. He's doing this the right way and really focusing on all the parts of his brand that he can build up without us to be successful. So again, one of the reasons I love him is he doesn't actually need our agency.
This is the beautiful part about people. Oftentimes when you go to approach a partner is one, you're not actually ready to have a partner. Is there any non-negotiables before you kind of went into this? Everybody's had these terrible experiences with the partners, or like it's Snake Osman, great sales guy, but then I got to the team and it's like, who was I just talking to? Were there any non-negotiables in finding that partner?
I mean, to be honest, I think I made a lot of mistakes at the beginning of the company. I probably didn't have the best partners, but there was a time in 2020 when I basically cut everything except for you and one employee. And we sort of built it from there, and I wanted someone that was profit-focused, really hyper-focused on trying to actually sell the product for more than it cost to sell it. Mason's been a great partner, and I think I was also looking for someone where it wasn't cookie cutter. It wasn't just, we have these, external, partners, and we just like run you through, an algorithm. I was looking for a human element to it, and I think Mason does that very well.
A human.
Yeah, this race, I'm going to ask this question in a second, but when you're evaluating partners come into it, because this is something that's been so tough, is everybody knows they need help, but they don't know what type of help they need. It's that identification of how do you just assess, like, this is the right partner to kind of come with me? Because he could have came to you and the business could have been not where it was when you first approached it. What were things that you looked for?
What we look for then is different than what we look for now. Now we're lucky enough, knock on wood, to be in a position where we don't have to deal with clients that we don't think have a reasonable chance of being successful. So one way to answer that question is if someone comes into our orbit and they say, I fired my last 3 agencies after 3 weeks each, ROI wasn't there, I'd like to hire you. That is a conversation I will quickly walk backwards from, right? Because that's not any agency's fault over 3 weeks not fixing things. So that's a red flag for us, and that's the kind of thing we'll look forward to avoid.
Well, it kind of leads me to my first question is a lot of brands don't fully know where they need to place their effort. Is it earned media? Is it paid media? What's your opinion on this?
I'd say it's all earned. He's a great partner, and he's sort of one really strong leg to the stool, but I think it's my job and most brands' jobs to really create the stool. And if you don't give him good leads to work with, whether that's influencers that are really aligned with your values, or brand partners that also are aligned. The alignment is key. If you can't get, if I can't give him 1,000 people that are the people that should be buying the product, he can't give me 10,000 back of people with lookalike audiences and things like that we can really target.
You did a lot of hard work up front at conferences like this, but for the dental industry, right? And that was not a profitable use of your time for the first 6 months, but you were building your own funnel, and you were putting in the hard work to build the brand organically so that we were able to amplify it and take you to a different place. But I think that's the key, is the way that you were willing to look long-term at building your company through audiences at human-facing events like this.
Yeah, I'd say, it's natural and science-backed. So on the natural side, there's a lot of influencers who will go through every single label and really dig into all the ingredients, and they have a very loyal following. So we attacked those in 2020 when the conferences were off the table. And then on the other side, science-backed, we're in 500 dentist offices, and if your dentist tells you about a toothpaste, you're probably going to use it. So they're very high-value leads.
Would you give like a specific piece of advice to somebody that is just in this room? Like what should they be focusing on right now?
Someone who's just what?
Just starting.
Ooh, if someone were just starting, my sister just started a direct-to-consumer skincare brand. My first advice to her was to reach out to influencers directly, and she had to spend 6 or 7 months doing that. It's called Oulé Beauty. You should check it out. It's great. It's only available in France. But my advice to her was focus only on influencers at first to get an organic bed of activity around your brand so that a good agency can come in and amplify it. Whether that happens in 6 months or a year or 2 months is a separate discussion. But that was my advice to my family. Focus on that.
Same question.
Yeah, I'd say find something that works. Do a lot of small tests. Find something that works. For us, it was the sort of micro influencers. That was sort of what got us started. But for every brand, it's different. And do small experiments that aren't like risking the whole company, and also focus on what's working for you and not what the other person's doing, because there's 1,000 different directions you can go, and it's so easy to look at someone and say, oh, they were able to do this, and it's like, yeah, it was 6 months ago, the whole world's different, and they have a totally different company, and they're a different person. So if you find something that works for you, it's a very big world, and you can sort of keep mining it until it doesn't work, and hopefully by then you've found something else.
No, just a follow-up to that. If your question was, what would I do if someone were just starting? So now let's imagine you're, depending on how you're funded, 6 months, 2 years into your journey, 10 years, and now you're spending $30,000 or $50,000 a month profitably at a good ROAS. I'll let everyone define their own ROAS. Some people have different numbers they want to target. But now you're at a spot where you want to amplify that, and you're having a hard time with Performance Max and Advantage Shopping Plus. To me, the key there is those companies, Google and Meta, which are where we spend most of our money, and most of the people in this room spend most of their money there. They're constantly changing their algorithm to drive the most results for them, which may not be the most results for you, right? And so one of the ways around that, I think, and the thesis of our agency these days, is to focus on creative that really cuts through and spend some time thinking with intentionality and grace and intellect about what kind of creative you want to put into markets, that it's not cookie cutter, and then run that in places where Google's not going to let you. Go to the trade desk, which is, if Google and Meta are half the internet, the trade desk is about the other half of the internet, right? And our thesis is that we should be serving really strong creative that really stands out. It doesn't mean we're not using AI, we are. We're heavily leaning into AI. But the ideas should be driving the creative in an intentional way, and you should be putting that in your consumer, as opposed to saying, what's the fastest way I can leverage PMAX? You have to be leveraging PMAX, right? But the next step beyond that, if you're spending $30,000 to $50,000 profitably and you're struggling to grow, is how do I think about my brand? What creative should I put into market? How do I really stand out? And how do I put that in places that everyone else isn't? And the answer for that is, these days, is generally the trade desk.
I'm always so curious about agencies and brands that are going, it's more of the platform. Creative is not important. Where do you stand on this?
I view the opposite. I think creative is incredibly important because it's your brand, and every interaction you have with your customer should be on message. And I think your brand, your ads are a huge touch point, and you need someone, or you need also, it's a big internal focus to re-leverage UGC, or to take things that you create and you put on Instagram or whatever, and leverage them in ads. Because anytime you're talking to your customer, or potential customer, that's your brand talking, and so you need some. That's why I like the human element. I have control with him over what ads are served, when what they look like, what the messaging is, everything. And of course, there is a lot of formulaic and algorithmic stuff that we do too, but it's really important.
Brooke, what's your thoughts on how much creative brands should be playing with, or at least spending their time on?
Do I have any clients in this room? Aside from you, sir? So we have clients that are convinced. I think most of our clients and I would agree that the key to getting to the next stage of their lives post iOS updates is a focus on creative. How that gets actualized is different. Some clients are convinced that they have to operationalize in such a way that they're rotating in 10 new creatives a day or 10 new creatives a week. And,
right.
and 10 a week and 10 a day are both valid positions, right? And some clients are saying, well, anytime an ad goes below 2.5 ROAS, cut it. That's all. We're optimizing this for growth. If it's below 2.5, cut it.
Right.
Other clients are saying, I want to give the algorithm time to adjust and see if this ad works. And digital advertising is part of my business, not all of it. And I'm okay letting it sit in market for a week to see if I get statistically valid data on it to decide if I make that pull. Those are two different positions, right? One is saying, do the most and cut it immediately if it's not performing. That's a totally valid position. The other position is saying, I'm going to spend a little more time on the creative itself. I'm going to put it in market, and I'm willing to tolerate certain lower metrics because I'm looking at my full funnel. I don't get to tell the client which path they should take, right? I have thoughts on that at different stages of a company's growth. But ultimately, if a client says A or B, we're going to do what they ask in those two cases.
Well, a lot of those times it's like you have to be in lockstep with that brand. They have to be fully aware of what's going on, how it's happening. The partnership has to be really kind of arm in arm. It can't be one leading the other, switching off. How have you built other really strong partnerships in this space?
The old-fashioned way, talking to people, talking to, I referenced this time in 2020, but, we're all locked at home. And I told my one employee at the time, just get me on the phone with these influencers, like all day. Like, I want to have my schedule packed. And personally talking to them, walking them through the product, answering all their questions, and you driving loyalty with them. And then that led to a lot of, customer loyalty in the end. So there's a lot of new tools, but in the end, it's a people business. You're selling something, so gotta explain.
Brooke, same question. How are you building these?
I don't think I can answer it better than he did. It's a people-based business, and you have to work in lockstep with people. You really do.
I feel you. Yeah. This is why I think events like this are so important, because you have to be out there. People have to see how you act. And then the mannerisms in person are so different from just jumping on a Zoom call and having conversations. Do you ever remember a time of maybe like a disagreement or a problem happened and how you worked through it?
Sure. Influencers are people, and they have opinions, and you sort of, I think there was a time where I sort of didn't do enough diligence on some influencers' other opinions, and people are out there saying, I can't believe RiseWell's supporting this person who has this, these crazy opinions that are very, very polarizing, and that was a clear mistake, and we stopped doing business with them. But I think that, when you're dealing with people, you have people problems too, and you have to realize that they have other things that they're talking about, and you sort of have to make sure that they fully align with your brand values if they're going to be out representing you.
Same question to you, Brooke.
My job is to make disagreements go away. So
no
we have
issues.
plenty of disagreements, but I think he should be spending more on acquisition. He'd like to spend less. That's a very natural thing, right? Like, that's a discussion we can have. Seriously, my job is to de-escalate things and find a path forward. So I welcome discussions with different viewpoints so we can talk through it. There's
a lot of difference for you guys. You guys have a ton of earned media and a ton of paid media. Who's in charge of planning what, and what does the coordination look like for you?
For me, I have a very small team. I have a head of marketing and another person that works on marketing, and they put together all of the earned. Obviously, I get on the phone, but they're a really well-run machine, so they do that. And then on the ad side, I give him a lot of freedom, and I basically run with anything on Google and Facebook that you recommend, except for increasing budgets. But yeah, he's a great partner on that side, so I don't have to worry about it.
But again, the reason I wanted him in the room is I think that he adds more value than I do to this conversation, because really the way he's built the company by focusing on other things aside from, and again, I make my money from running ads, but the fact that he was able to focus on growing the other parts of his business so that we're complementary to it, I think is really instructive and inspirational. I think it's a great path if we can follow. If everyone could follow that path, everyone would be more successful.
If you had to pick a platform, TikTok versus Instagram.
I got to go with Instagram. We still haven't figured out TikTok. I don't know. Maybe young kids aren't buying the $12 toothpaste or something, but it's not working for us.
Personally, the money is still on Instagram. Professionally, the money is still on Instagram. Personally, I haven't been on Instagram in a long time, and I'm on TikTok.
Okay. What about Reels versus Feed?
I'd go with Reels. I mean, there's a more personality to them and more authenticity.
I think all of the above. I think we don't get to choose what platform and ad unit we're doing. Our customers get to choose, and so we have to be everywhere they are.
In this space, I think there's a big play around iterations or brand new concepts of creative or content. Where do you stand on, is it both, is it all, is it one?
I think it's iterations. I mean, in the end, I think, my view is that your product should be unique and innovative, but, ads, spend your time on developing better products, and, ads, let that be sort of iterative.
I know I sound milquetoast. I'm going to say both again. We need to be iterative of what's working, and a good ad set's usually going to have 3 ads in it, right? Something that's evergreen, something that's a test against that evergreen, and something that's seasonal. So there's a way to iterate on what's working, to do another version of that, see if you can improve it incrementally. There's also a logic to, at the same time, putting another ad in there that's a little more outre, a little more different, a little more creative, maybe that stands out. If we don't try new things like that, you're never going to find out. We have a booth back there. We have a lot of T-shirts. Please take them, or I have to fly them back to New York tomorrow. Which is true. The ads that work for us as an agency are ads of a baby flying in space. So this Marina 6. The robots are here, right? But so we had these ads of AI-generated infants flying in space, saying, meet your customers where they are. It's completely ridiculous, but we know that it works for us as an agency for our business-to-business marketing, and we never would have tried it unless our creative director hadn't said, we have to try something different. All the iterative stuff is working. Let's see if we can increase the click-through rate by 2% with the iterative ads. That's great. Let's try something really different. And we tried these ads. They're different from our competitors. Although our competitors' ads are pictures of people standing around a laptop laughing with a gradient in the background. And here we are with these AI-generated babies. And again, the doing of it wasn't hard. The AI does it. The idea to do it was so outrageous, was good. And that's working for us. So it's both things, right? We had to iterate on what's working to get a better click-through rate and a better conversion rate, and then try new things. The babies, which are on our monitor, were not the first thing we tried. Some other ideas didn't work first, right? But we were happy to keep iterating through it.
That's why I'm partnered with him. It's a better answer than mine.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting to see the opinion, because it varies and differs, especially budgets come into play, and you're like, well, I can't do everything that you want. 2024 is coming. We have final season left. What's the wisdom to the crowd before you take off?
What's the wisdom?
What's some wisdom? Drop me some wisdom. You got 48 seconds of wisdom, sir.
Focus on what's working, and that's not going to change. I mean, the tools change, but in the end, it's the same thing. Either you're selling in a store, or now you're selling. There was Facebook, Instagram. Now it's all sorts of other things. But find something that works for you, and don't focus on what anyone else is doing.
Set goals. Be fluid in those goals. If the market isn't responding to your product, it's okay to change, and follow the data.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.